Guide to avoid alimony. Have a best friend. Central characters. I. 30M. My best friend, Ace. 30M. And my piece of shit ex who I was married to for 5 years. 28F. We were married right out of college after our graduate and undergrad respectively. Ace is single. Story. 2 years ago, I worked at a startup in South Carolina and put in long hours that seemed to have a strain on our marriage. While our sex lives were good, I felt my ex was being distant at times and asked her about it, only to be reassured that there was nothing wrong and she understood the long hard hours. I both liked and hated this job. It was flexible in the hours, but I ended up working way more than a traditional 9 to 5 for similar pay at the time. Ace and I are best friends of over 13 years since high school. There are a couple issues we have polar opposite stances on, and are really passionate about our positions. But in general we get along really well. One night I invited him over for beer and we got a little too drunk and ended up arguing a lot over this issue. It didn't get physical, but some really harsh words were said by both parties and it ended with him leaving the house and me visibly angry. The next morning, I called him up first thing and we both apologized to each other and that was that. However, my ex was unaware of this and came up to me badmouthing Ace. I thought this was a little atypical of her since she doesn't do that normally, but chalked it off to her being comforting and affectionate towards me. I told her it wasn't a big deal and that Ace and I were fine and left for work. Now in what I can only describe as winning the Powerball, I met Ace at the gas station on the way to work. He normally works from home and was on his way to visit his dad for the weekend. We decided to have a couple beers to make up for the previous night and headed to a small quiet bar I like to visit. There, the unexpected happens and Ace receives a call from my ex. She asks if he was alone and he says yes, looking perplexed. This lovely woman then proceeds to apologize for my behavior the previous night and asks if she can make it up to him. He pretended that he can't hear her and puts it on loudspeaker for both of us to hear and asks her to repeat. My ex proceeds to proposition him for sex using the cliched excuses of being lonely and how I work long hours and that how I wouldn't find out given our me and Ace falling out. She then repeats all the badmouthing she had done earlier in the day to me with the caveat that I said all those things. Now my ex is no Einstein, but surely there's no way Ace buys that shit. He tells her that he will call her in a bit 'cause of a client and hangs up. I was devastated with my face buried in my palms 'cause I knew the marriage was over. I have a few strict boundaries in life and IDC if it's a 5-year or a 50-year marriage. Cheating equals divorce. The only thing was if I could somehow get out of it without losing much 'cause I knew the alimony would fuck me over given that I made nearly 3 times what she made. We didn't have kids and only little in marital property and I was okay with losing half the joint account since I was young and there wasn't a whole lot. South Carolina has at-fault divorce for adultery which bars the recipient from any alimony. The issue is that we didn't record the call and there was pretty much no proof outside of me and my friend's word of adultery. So I hatched a plan to allow the cheating to happen. Ace was hesitant 'cause she was my wife at the time, but honestly, I saw red and that woman was dead to me, so I couldn't care less. I wanted evidence of cheating. Now I gotta say, Ace managed to keep his cool and come up with a plan that seems so simple it's almost movie-like. We worked out the kinks together and decided that we would not speak of this until everything was done and dusted. Over the next hour, we planned out everything. He would accept her offer and meet my ex shortly after I left for work. I would feign missing a file and return, only to hear sounds and start recording. Then I would catch them in the act. Pretend that it was alarming and cause a fuss. To this day I think the only reason I was able to act surprised was because I was insanely angry at my ex, so all the expletives just came naturally. I asked Ace to fuck off forever once I caught them and told my wife that she'd hear from my lawyer. A bluff. I hadn't thought that far. I didn't bring up the bad-mouthing cause I felt it would give away the whole plan. Cue my wife pleading and crying. Literally begging me to forgive her and that it was a mistake out of desperation and loneliness. I told her I needed some time alone. Walked out. Drove to the nearest Walmart and broke down in the parking lot. I hadn't had any time to grieve in nearly a day and had been focused on revenge. Then I called up a local attorney who seemed to have good ratings, and told him what I had. I presented it as if I caught them in the act, and didn't mention anything about the plan even to my attorney. Ace and I had figured earlier that I was technically giving consent so it wouldn't be adultery. But nobody but us needed to know that, and we were okay with taking it to our graves if we had to. Sketchy? Yes. Deserved? Also yes. At the advice of my attorney, I returned home a couple hours later to pack my stuff and told my ex I'd be living separately and that she could expect divorce papers soon. She continued to bawl her eyes out. And those were genuine tears. I think she was really remorseful, but I didn't give a fuck. In fact, I drove the blade in deep. I reminded her of some of our fondest memories in college before our marriage. Our honeymoon. Some of the things I had done for her, etc., and how she repaid me by cheating with my best friend. It was a double-edged sword cause I started tearing up a bit, but I think it needed to be said. I ended it with a, "I hope you'll do the right thing," and left. I probably shouldn't have talked to her as suggested by my attorney, but hey. I had to make her feel like the piece of shit she was. I don't know if she was genuinely remorseful, or if my words stung her, or if she just broke internally. But she did not contest the divorce. I didn't owe her a cent in alimony and got away with just asset division. Some of our mutual friends caught wind of the cheating and pretty much shunned her from her circles. Her parents were kinda conservative and basically disowned her. Ace and I went cold turkey on her. And this woman basically didn't exist to me. Her standard of living just dropped drastically, and as of December 2020, she lost her job to the pandemic and had moved in with some guy, according to one of those mutual friends. I'd be lying if I said the Schadenfreude didn't put a smile on my face. But I do feel a bit bad for the woman that I once knew. There is one aspect I feel guilty about though. Our mutual friends who all sided with me after the affair think I'm an innocent and benevolent soul who was cheated on and even forgave his best friend. All my good fortune. Next para is apparently well-deserved and I have a heart of gold. In reality, I'm quite the conniving guy who basically ensured she'd get fucked. I intend to keep it that way, honestly. All they need to know is how much of a piece of shit my ex was. And I feel 100% justified in my actions. The only case I'd have considered breaking my silence is if anyone judged Ace harshly. However, Ace and I don't have mutual friends and only our professional lives intersect. Here's the happy ending. The startup I worked for became successful and I made quite a lot of money when it was sold to a bigger company. None of which went to my ex. Ace is a true bro and unfortunately lost his job to the pandemic last June. I hooked him up with a better job at my parent company cause that man deserves everything in the world and more. We still have our disagreements on the issue. Except now we just laugh about how it saved me from a horrible marriage. TLDR. Ex-wife sought to alienate me from my best friend and propositioned him for sex. Best friend and I conspired to allow the cheating to happen so I could have a field day at court. and bar her from alimony. No one suspected a thing. The plan worked to perfection and she lost out on potentially tens of thousands of dollars. And ended up destitute. I'm also a saint. Apparently. What was the issue you guys disagreed on? Did your ex have other emotional or physical affairs? Seems sus she went right after your best friend and didn't explore other options. First. 2 questions. 1. Why were you drinking in the morning before work? 2. Why didn't you just get him to call her back? Little dirty talk. Say, can you go over all that again? I was distracted with work? Why would you get them to actually bang? That part is unbelievable. You met Ace at a gas station and decided to go to a bar and have a few drinks before work. This story just seems too contrived and forced. I agree with the others who said this is fake. For me, what did it was that the op says he was best friends with the other guy for over 13 years. But at the end he says that they didn't have any friends in common and only their professional lives intersected? Did you record Ace, and how far into the cheating act did they get? Damn dude. Am sorry about all the wasted time. Hope you're all good now. This sounds like the storyline of a bad porn.
Why was Op's account deleted?
This is pure revenge fantasy bullshit. If it is somehow true, then the 3 main characters are all assholes. You all suck. Wait, you went to a bar at 8 a.m.? You said you were on your way to work. There is one aspect I feel guilty about though. Our mutual friends who all sided with me after the affair think I'm an innocent and benevolent soul who was cheated on and even forgave his best friend. All my good fortune. Next para. Is apparently well deserved and I have a heart of gold. In reality, I'm quite the conniving guy who basically ensured she'd get fucked. Ex-wife did cheat on Op though. I feel sorry for Ace if he was also blamed by their mutual friends. There's nothing wrong with setting your partner up like that. It covers you for something that could have gone quite badly for you had the trap not been set. I've done similar. I knew an argument was going to happen with my ex. So set the bike cam to record. Got her to admit that if the police were called again, she'd falsely accuse me of rape. That saved me, as even without evidence, guys are FKED if they get accused. That Ace, what a guy. If your buddies shunned your ex for her cheating after the fact, do they also treat Ace poorly? As without the added secret context, would they not also believe Ace bears responsibility in the affair? Also, hello fellow South Carolinian. So Ace came up with the idea of him actually screwing your wife to facilitate your divorce? Good thing you had an Ace in the hole. The next ProRevenge is you and Ace have a falling out and he's gonna spill the beans. NGL. The first paragraph had me thinking you and Ace were going to end up together somehow. Tears of joy. This is why you hang on to best friends as tightly as you can.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.